8 hours. Yes, 8 hours. So 14 multiplied by 8 would be your manufacturing overhead. For example, let's just say that it is 110. Let's just, for the sake of, or 122, right? So according to you, for example, this would be 90 to the 6, 3, for example, 326 per unit, right? Where this 326 came from, a major cost is manufacturing overhead, but you didn't receive any order, right? Order is not yet confirmed. You just quote your orders, right? So smart managers, they in advance forecast the manufacturing overhead and they quote the order. When they confirm the order, they receive the order, they start producing the goods. And their focus is that we should produce at least to meet our quotation. But in reality, the cost can be decreased or can be increased. Maybe this year the government announces increase in utility bills. So the electricity cost goes up. But in manufacturing overhead, we included cost based on previous year cost. So of course our cost is going to be rise, or the labor demanded more wages this year. Of course, the 140,000 is not going to be the base price. It's going to be increased. Why? Because worker demanded from $11 to $15 per hour. So this is some kind of flavors we will talk about in different variety of these, increase in actual and estimated. We'll talk about in coming lectures. So just to make sure that you understand the concept of advanced calculation, or estimated manufacturing overhead, why we use estimated overhead. Now it's clear, Subhan?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now why we are using allocation base? We just mentioned here. I'm just going to read that. It is impossible or difficult to trace overhead to a particular job. Manufacturing overhead consists of many items ranging from grease used in machine, production manager salary. So many types of manufacturing overhead costs are fixed, even though output fluctuates during the period. Like I told you, so there are many factors who's causing manufacturing overhead, but you need to, you need to see which drive the cost. So you are focusing on cost driver. So recall your concept of cost driver. So that is basically your base. So you divide that cost with the base, you find out per unit manufacturing overhead cost. Okay, manufacturing overhead rate, the things that I explained it, we call it estimated or applied or predetermined overhead rate. We call this POHR, which means before going into actual production, you estimated this would be my per unit manufacturing overhead. So we call this predetermining overhead rate. So the predetermining overhead rate is used to apply overhead rate to jobs before the production begins, right? So what is the formula? Estimated cost divided by estimated base, either the number of units, either the number of direct labor hours, either the machine hours. It's like that. So that would be given to you, right? Ideally, this one would be the cost driver, which drives the cost. So I know it's a little bit dry, but when we go to the examples, numerical example, then it will be further clarification for you. So why there is a need of POHR? Like I tell you, using a predetermined overhead rate makes it possible to estimate total job cost sooner. If you receive the order and the company is waiting for confirmation, so you can easily reject the order or accept the order based on, okay, this would be our cost. Okay, if the company is giving us higher cost, of course our profit is going to be included. Then we accept it, otherwise we reject it. So actual overhead cost for a period is not known until the end of the period, right? If we receive the order and because we quote the price in advance and our cost comes after the completion of the product. So that's why it is easier for us to estimate. So there are 3 steps to find out the predetermining overhead rate. First of all, you estimate the level of production for the period. You estimate on the which basis you are deriving this cost. And at the end, you estimate the total manufacturing overhead. Simple. Let's just talk about this. We have an exercise from the book. Let's just read that. So Harris Fabrics computes its predetermined overhead rate annually and on the basis of direct labor hours. So on the basis of direct labor hours. So it means they pre-plan or they estimate or they forecast their overhead rate based on direct labor hours. So it means in order to calculate the predetermined overhead rate, the base is going to be direct labor hours. At the beginning of the year, it estimated that the total manufacturing overhead gonna be 134,000, right? So it means the estimated 134,000, and they would be utilizing 20,000 direct labor hours. So 134,000 divided by 20,000. So that would be their predetermined overhead rate, right? So its actual total overhead for the year was 123 and based on 21,000 actual direct labor hours. So that is the actual data, which means this is at the start of the year and this is at the end of the year. So that is the extra requirement, because we are calculating at the start of the year what is the predetermined overhead rate. So 134,000 divided by 20,000, answer would be, can you calculate that? $6.7. Now, at the start of the year, it is easy for them to take orders because direct labor and direct manufacturing, direct labor and direct material is easy to find out. It's easy to traceable. So they can, when they receive order, they add based on predetermined overhead rate. They quote the price, they receive the order, and they start producing. So at the end of the year, they find out that their cost is 123,000, and then they make adjustment. The adjustment we will talk about later, I think in our coming lectures or maybe at the end of the slide. So are we clear about the use of predetermined overhead rate? Subhan, Junpyo, Ali? Ali? Junpyo? Subhan? Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, let's just move forward. Now, yes. So that is the predetermined overhead rate that we calculated 6.70, but that is based on, if you revert to our question here, so 134,000 divided by 20,000. Answer would be 6.70. Okay. Now this 6.70 is based on 20,000 direct labor hours, right? This is POHR. But did the company utilizes 20,000? No, company utilizes 21,000. Now question is, can you compare 6.70 with the actual manufacturing overhead? The actual manufacturing overhead is based on so answer would be 123 5.85. So can you compare 6.7 with the 5.8? Can we compare 5.85 with 6.70? Okay, let me rephrase it. Company at the start of the year said that their cost would be 6.70 for the manufacturing overhead. They predetermined or they estimated their cost would be 6.7, but their actual cost, actual overhead, 5.85. It is good or bad? Coco, Junpyo, Subhan, it is good or bad?
Normal, is it?
I asked good or bad, not normal. It's good or bad, just tell me. You estimated at the start of the year that your manufacturing cost is going to be 6.7. But at the end of the year, the cost is 5.85. It is good or bad? Coco, Junpyo, Ali.
Yep.
We estimated our cost is 6.7 at the start of the year,